Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. Don't adjust your screens. Yes, we are on the Fightful main channel. And no, I am not the beautiful and effervescent Kate. I am SP3, now in the A position, the host position, with my co-host extraordinaire. She does excellent interviews over on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel. She has her own YouTube channel where she does plenty of content talking about WWE, AEW, and everything in between. And she is a part of the Ring of Honor today. It is Astrid. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I am doing wonderful despite my tiredness. We got probably the best episode of Ring of Honor in quite some time, and it's episode 69. So you know that Ring of Honor purposely gave us the best episode since I became a host of this show because Kate is not here. So I'm glad you're here to talk about it with me.
Yes. Me too. I can't believe Kate missed this one of all episodes.
You know, the AEW and Ring of Honor, Tony Khan is playing games with Kate. He had to bring, Collision and the Ring of Honor taping to Allentown, Pennsylvania, right near her, a drive away from her. So she had to go there and be there live where we got more title matches. Apparently, she gave me a spoiler. She's not going to put any spoilers on social media, but she did give me a spoiler that there's a big championship matchup going down for us Ring of Honor fans. So we have something to look forward to. But they also on this night gave us probably the most action-packed and noteworthy episode of Ring of Honor, I want to say, since like Supercard of Honor.
Yeah, probably. In the longest one too.
I was just telling Astrid before we went live that you guys know from my last couple of episodes I'm in the UK, so it's 2 a.m. for me. So I'm absolutely exhausted. I've been up since like 9 a.m. and I only went to sleep at like 4 a.m. last night because I was watching Kendrick Lamar dance on the grave of Drake. So I was feeling a little tired. I told her I had a drink of Coca-Cola, got some caffeine in my system. She showed me her Red Bull. So we're ready to go. We're ready to do our thing. So the little things that Kate always says. So I'm going to say it to you as well. We appreciate y'all for joining us live. Remember, show that appreciation back the simplest way possible. You could drop the thumbs up on the video, but most of all, you could send those super chat donations. That is the best way to have your comment highlighted on screen and interact with us. Tell us what you thought of tonight's Ring of Honor television, Ring of Honor on Honor Club. This, like I said, the most noteworthy episode in quite some time. We had two huge title matches, and the main event was the best match I've seen on Ring of Honor television, I want to say, in 2024. Like, I was totally invested, and thank God I had that Coca-Cola before the main event, because that was like a shot of like caffeine in my system. Just the first fall alone with Lee Johnson and Kyle Fletcher. This was some really, really damn good action in the ring. But overall thoughts, what did you think of tonight's Ring of Honor on Honor Club?
Yeah, to me, it's probably, aside from the one I went to, which was the first one, this is probably one of the best episodes I've seen in quite a while, at least. So I was entertained. So I like that there was a little bit of everything, and it wasn't a lot of squash matches. There was one episode that's all I watched with Kate. So it wasn't the same. This definitely felt a little bit different tonight.
Yes. So we want to hear from all of you. We got plenty of people already in the chat. I see Jim. Yes, happy belated Juneteenth to everyone who celebrated, like me, who celebrated by staying up till 4 a.m. watching Kendrick Lamar with the greatest victory lap in hip hop history. I also celebrated Juneteenth by hanging out with the Wrestlings podcast. So shout out to the fellas over at Wrestlings. I'm on this week's podcast show. I went out to London and went to their studio and checked it out, celebrated Juneteenth, but the wrestling podcast version of Juneteenth. So check it out over on the Wrestling's podcast. That drops tomorrow. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. And happy Ring of Honor, happy wrestling to everyone who's joining us in the chat. Let's talk about Ring of Honor tonight. We had a star from CMLL on the show. Like we said, we had 2 big title matches, including a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. So we love to hear what you got to say about it. If you're watching on any other platforms, remember, heart, thumbs up, however you can show your emotes. It helps other people check out the content. And remember, go over to FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the game. That's the best way to support what Fightful does and get all your latest news. I know they've had news this week on Joe Hendry. They've had news on contracts. So a lot going on in the wrestling world. The best place to keep on track with that is FightfulSelect.com. But let's get into Ring of Honor. The show kicked off with the aforementioned CMLL talent and one of my absolute favorites. I've seen him a lot in New Japan Pro Wrestling as of late. Titan was here, a member of Los Ingonables de Japón. He went one-on-one with Aaron Solo, one of our regulars here on Ring of Honor television. And this could have been a squash matchup, but I thought it was a pretty competitive 5 to 6 minute matchup. You had some early offense from Solo before Titan hit a nice little tope suicida. Solo took over for a bit before Titan made his comeback. He hit that beautiful little kip up Pele kick that he hits usually. Then Solo came back with a nice little trouble in paradise for a near fall. He hit Titan's finisher, which is the flying double stomp, for a near fall on Titan. And at this point, we actually heard some chants, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to the crowd being tired during Ring of Honor shows, but we had some Solo sucks chants for Aaron. Titan made a further comeback. He hit a back kick. He tried to go for Immortal, which is his submission finisher, but Solo got a cradle, and then we got a great sequence of offense from Titan. He followed it up, finished him off with the double foot stomp off the top rope. What did you think about Titan? Is this your first time seeing it, or how familiar are you with Titan, and what do you think of the matchup?
Yeah, I think it's my first time watching it, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember at least. This was really a fun opener, though. I really like you said, like they brought up the energy, and this is what I like about the openers when they bring up and kind of wake people up. That's when it's kind of picking up there, and I really love that. And the only thing I was so surprised, like it doesn't happen often, so I was very surprised that Titan just won this match, because usually when you get somebody from an outside company, they usually have their people win the match. So I was expecting Aaron to win it somehow, and when Titan won, I was like, I was very surprised, but I liked it. I was like, I'm not mad at it. I was just surprised it happened, but overall, I feel like they had a good chemistry. They had a good match. I wish it would have been a little bit longer, because just I feel like what I was enjoying, it just ended, and I really wanted a little bit more from both of them because they have really good chemistry here.
Yeah. I thought this was a good showing for Aaron Solo, who usually is a guy that is here to kind of like take falls from other guys, but he had a nice little bit of offense that made him look well. But like I said, I love Titan. He's just so fast in the ring. His offense is always so smooth, and I'm always a Lij mark, so I always love seeing my Lij brother in Ring of Honor. It was a nice change of pace. I saw somebody in the chat asking if you think that ROH is going to be involved in Forbidden Door in any way. I know last year, I think it was Athena. Athena faced Billie Starkz in the Owen Hart Cup on the pre-show for Forbidden Door. Do you think that we get any type of Ring of Honor, unless it's, we get the usual suspect? We have Mark Briscoe, who's in the TNT championship matchup, but do you think we're going to have any other ROH champions or ROH stalwarts on the Forbidden Door card?
I really would like somebody like Athena or even just Billie Starkz to do it. I really thought later on when we had Atlantic do the promo, when he said he wanted to face the TV champion, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be for Forbidden Door. When he goes, no, it's going to be Arena Mexico. And I'm like, no, that's not where I want this to be. So I thought it would have been more of a Forbidden Door kind of match, but it's like, I wouldn't be mad if Athena had a match, Billie, either one of them, to be honest. It's like, can we get some Ring of Honor and influence in here somehow? I feel like that would be great to promote the product as well. At least have one championship match in the card. I think that would be good for like Ring of Honor as a whole to catch the attention of those people. So if you can, I'm like, Athena versus Queen Aminata, please, at least, maybe.
I really think they're saving that for Death Before Dishonor,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I would love to see it at Forbidden Door, but it seems like they're doing the slow burn, and we'll get into what happened with MIT because we had a MIT emergency minion empowerment meeting on this show, which was one of the kind of the talking points of this episode. And if I haven't mentioned already, stick around because after we're done talking about Ring of Honor, I know the final hour of TNA Impact is on right now. So stay tuned for Joel Pearl, my good brother, the person that put together the Bloods and the Crips before Kendrick Lamar. Remember that for when he comes, put it in the chat. And Cresta Star are going to be here to talk about TNA Impact and if we saw some more TNA and NXT involvement after Joe Hendry made his debut on NXT this week. So stay tuned for that. But we're going to talk more Ring of Honor. Before that, we do have our first super chat donation from Shame Monster. He's a monster and he's full of shame. He says, all right, guys, Kate's away. Let's talk about how Zach Knight is the best British Zach. Kidding, kinda. He says, does anyone know how bad Athena's injury is? I'm very interested to find out. It felt like with the segment tonight that it's not that serious because I think if it was, we would have saw what she was basically building up the promo and feigning with the fake tears and the fake getting emotional. It felt like if it was that serious that she was going to be out for a while, she probably would have relinquished the title. But the fact that she says she's going to keep the title, I have faith that it's not that serious. And I think they're just buying their time until she's ready to come back for Death Before Dishonor. What did you think?
Yeah, I definitely felt the same. Even like we even just watching, I saw the announcement. I thought this is not what we expected to be. Definitely for sure, it felt like kind of like a clickbait sort of thing to put it like that. And then when she started giving us like that crying face, I was like, no, I don't see any tears in those eyes, so I don't believe you right now. So when she brought up and started smiling, I was like, I knew it. I was just wondering how long it took you to just smile afterwards. But yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah, Shea Monster with a good follow-up comment here saying the bump probably wouldn't have happened either. Yeah, if it's a real injury, you're not going to have someone bump into her and her fall down, risking her possibly that bump kind of taking more time off for hers. But we're going to get into everything that went down. Got my notes for the Minion Empowerment meeting that went down on the show. But next up, we had 6-man tag team action. It was Serpentico teaming up with the Infantry. Love the Infantry whenever they come out, bring the energy of the crowd, like you were talking about with the opener. And they're going up against Cole Karter, Griff Garrison, and Anthony Henry. So this was, I felt like, right off the bat with this matchup, it felt like Angelico and JD Drake got lost on the trip to wherever they were, and that's why we got a 6-man tag because it felt like this should have been like a four corners tag team matchup. Did you get that feeling as well?
Yeah, because even as much as I like Serpentico with the infantry, you definitely can feel like they don't team up often, like or like at all, to put it like that. So you get that feeling as the match was happening. It's like at the same time I was like, I know I missed the episode last week, and I thought maybe I missed a chapter here or something happened, because when I see Anthony Henry teaming up with the heels, I kept thinking, wait, they're not heels though. So it's like I was so surprised that he was on that side of the team in that aspect though. But it just I like her Serpentico and Infantry. They did fit very well together, but at the same time you can kind of tell that they don't really team up. So I feel like it should have been a little bit different. And then probably with JD's injury, perhaps it probably got changed. Who knows? But you can tell a little bit because of it.
Yeah, and I almost forgot that JD got hurt in one of their last matches. I remember that as well. But this was a pretty good 6-man tag team matchup. Some nice double team offense from Infantry on all 3 heels early. Then you had Henry, he gained the lead, but the teamwork of the baby faces kind of overcame that. I thought they meshed well for a first time teaming up together as well. Then Henry hit a shotgun drop kick just as Griff Garrison and Cole Karter pulled the Infantry off the apron. The heels isolated Serpentico for a while. while. Henry hit a vicious looking neck twist with his legs. I really liked Anthony Henry in this one. I felt like he was like the MVP of this matchup. The other MVP on the babyface side was Carlie Bravo, who came in with the hot tag. That stutter step crossover he did, and then he laughed at him. It was kind of like a basket. It was kind of like a Allen Iverson type thing, or more like and one. It was like hot sauce crossing him over and then laughing at him and stuff and like playing with the ball that he did on. I think it was Griff Garrison. No, it was Cole Karter. Infantry hit like a nice little magic killer into a Uranagi for a near fall. Then all the action broke down. All 6 men were in the ring. Serpentico hit a swanton for a near fall when Garrison and Karter broke up the pin. Maria grabbed Serpentico's foot and then distracted him with his mask, continuing the rivalry between SAP and Garrison and Karter. And then Garrison hit Serpentico in the back with a steel chair, which allowed Henry to hit like a flapjack style finisher for the win. I've never seen his finisher before. I don't even know the name of it because I feel like this is the first time I've seen Anthony Henry score the pinfall victory on an episode of Ring of Honor. But like I said, I thought Henry was really good in this matchup. And overall, it was pretty decent bout. What did you think?
Yeah, really, I feel like it was a really fun match. I did like Anthony Henry, like you said, he really stood out to me in this match, and I like having, even though he was in the tag team with the guys, he's the one that stood out to me the most here, and I like how he's the one probably in the ring the most out of the whole group there too. And it's like I like everything he did here, even by himself, and I really enjoy that. And again, it's like I love the infantry. Anytime I can see them on screen, it's like I will take it. It's like any opportunity. So I like seeing them here as well. And like you said, Carlie Bravo is like he's the one that always stands out to me as well with the way he moves. It's just so smooth when he does anything. And I really enjoyed it. But I kept thinking, it's like, I know I don't watch Ring of Honor often, but it's like this thing with Maria and Serpentico, I feel like it's going on forever. When is it going to really end? That's all I could think about when she distracted him. Like, how long has this been? Because it feels like it's been a while. When is it going to be done? Because I want it to be done already. I want them to move on and do something else aside from this.
I feel like they've had like 2 or 3 blow-off matches that I thought were the blow-off match, but it's still going on, and they're still walking around with the mask. I feel like this started in probably like by Final Battle or after Final Battle, which is insane. That was in December. We're going on July now.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's too much. It's way too long, to be honest.
So at this point, we got a nice little video package hyping up the 2 out of 3 falls matchup in the main event for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. And then we had the aforementioned Athena MIT promo, and it was on the stage. So you had Lexi Nair introduce that this is an emergency MIM meeting, a minion empowerment meeting. Athena comes out on crutches with a boot on her ankle. So it was like, oh, I was like, that's when I first saw her come out, I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good. But Athena then addresses the reports that we all been reading in the dirty sheets, which I like her for that. I like her calling it the dirty sheets. And she says that she took a spill in a recent matchup and it's not good. She knows the fans want to know how long. She says that she tore some ligaments in her ankle, and she said that she might be out for 4 to 6 months. She then talks about how she single-handedly carried the division on her back. She's been thinking that this is not how her championship run should end. But at last, she has decided that it's best for the division, it's best for Ring of Honor, and it's best for MIT that she keeps the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship around her waist. Yes, great stuff. Great delivery of this. She says this is not how her title reign ends, and she will be Ring of Honor Women's World Champion forever. This brings out Queen Aminata and Red Velvet to interrupt. Aminata calls Athena and Billie ashy and trashy. Put it on a t-shirt. That's all I gotta say. Put it on a t-shirt. Abinata says that if she's not really hurt, she plans on taking that Ring of Honor Women's World Championship from Athena. Red Velvet then brings up the fact that this is not the first time someone from MIT has faked an injury, and that she thinks that Athena is faking the injury just like Billie did to win the Ring of Honor Women's Television Championship. This upsets Starkz, which she shoves Red right in the face, and Red responds by pushing her right into Athena, who is down on the ground selling the injured ankle. So despite, Aminata and Red Velvet kind of saying that she's faking the injury, she did sell it for real. Like, she was really hurt after being pushed into by Billie. And then Billie tries to come at the baby faces, but she's held back by security here. I really like this segment, and I tweeted it out immediately after this segment. I don't remember the last time we got a promo in front of the fans and an angle on a Ring of Honor television show. It's just either been squashes or then a competitive opener or competitive main event. This was the first time in a while that we got an actual angle to build one of the stories. And this is the main story that's been going on Ring of Honor television over the last couple of months with Aminata and Red Velvet versus MIT. What did you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because it just reminded me more of like how the way they do with Dynamite. It wasn't an interview, wasn't a backstage segment. It was like in the ramp, and it doesn't really happen often in Ring of Honor. I did like the presentation there because even though they were not in the ring, it makes them look important when they're actually in the front for everybody to see them. And it's like that's how it should be for Athena, especially. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it's like when she started talking about her like relinquishing the title, I didn't believe anything she was saying at that point. I was just waiting for her to tell us, I'm not really injured, and then throw the crutches away or something like that. But I like the delivery here when she said, like, right, it's like, for me to keep the title. I was like, yeah, I knew it. I knew you were going to say something like that. I was just waiting for that moment there. But I did like having Queen Aminata come in really quickly after that happened, Red Velvet as well. And it's nice to see that happening like face to face and not just like a segment from MIT separately from the girls here. And I like how we had that face off there, like to put it in person. And again, I really like that build up between both of them. I like that part of even Billie going towards Red Velvet. I didn't like the only part is like she went and she obviously pushed Athena as she fell, but she's like more like focused on the girls than focusing on checking on Athena at the same time. And I was like, she kind of went to her like that, and then she went towards the girls like, but the media training, you should be like focused on Athena, checking on her, and Athena's like screaming, and Billie's like more like, but I go against, I try to get the girls by herself. I was like, that's the only time with the timing I feel like that felt kind of like awkward in a way because she like looked at Athena and then wanted to jump the girls instead of checking on Athena the way Lexi was doing. But again, I like the timing of it. I think it was really well done between Athena's lines here saying she's going to keep the title and the girls coming on not too long afterwards, and the back and forth they had here. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this brought me back to more of like the cocky Athena character, the cocky champion that she's been over the last couple of months. And that's a good point with pointing out Billie not really checking on her leader and really more focused on trying to get her get back on Aminata and Red Velvet. And this is showing kind of her character development, that she's no longer kind of just subservient to Athena. She's more about kind of having her whole confidence and her whole cockiness that we've been seeing in matches. You kind of showed that in a small way by her being more focused on trying to get her get back and trying to, get some revenge on Red Velvet for the push instead of checking on Athena, who is supposedly supposed to be really injured, and you're not too focused on the fact that your leader is hurt on the ground. That was a good point that you mentioned there. Do you think that this is all building to 2 title matches at Death Before Dishonor? That's what I kind of been talking about with Kate, that they're doing this slow burn. We still haven't even done a tag team matchup, which I thought they were do. I thought they would do that like a month ago, but we still haven't done that yet. And with the injury to Athena, maybe, you save the tag team matchup for Death Before Dishonor now that, you might not want to rush Athena back to be in a singles match. Maybe ease her back in by doing the tag match at Death Before Dishonor, or even like we mentioned before, maybe we get them on Forbidden Door if Athena is healthy by then, because I think this was taped either last week or the week before. So I know she was supposed to be out for like 4 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks. So If she's able to come back for Forbidden Door, I don't know yet. But how do you see them laying out both the tag team matchup and the singles title matches?
I didn't think about the severity of the injury. I was just thinking like the way they build up things. I was thinking the tag team match is gonna happen first and then the separate matches. That's my thought process. But depending on her injury, like you said, they might just save it and just do the separate matches whenever she's healthy enough. It just depends, I think, how bad her injuries and has like how do you want to like really save her while you're doing this build up at the same time? Because if it's really that bad and they want to delay it as much as possible, they're gonna have to do this back and forth for a little bit and maybe do Billie Starkz versus the opposite, like her versus Queen Aminata again, or kind of do the opposite in that sort of way and see what happens there. But I think it just depends on how severe the injury is supposed to be, how long they want her out, how long they want her to like heal up and recover before they actually put her in the ring again.
Yeah, and I've heard people say they think that Athena should be back on the the AEW roster. I don't know how long you can hold her back. Even with her being the Ring of Honor champion, I think she's so undeniable, and she even showed it here with her promo work, with her character work. She's just on the top of her game, like under the Tony Khan banner. She's one of like the best characters out there. So I like the fact, she, like, I think Power Driver Finisher says in the chat, she went from this kind of playing off the somberness that she might be injured right into the cocky heel character that she is. And to answer, I think it was Ace Shock in the chat who was asking, yes, they are actually taping AEW Collision and ROH in Allentown, Pennsylvania tonight for a Saturday show. And I guess either next week or the week after will be the Ring of Honor taping that they're filming tonight. Like I said, the little spoiler, little teaser is that there is a title match for Ring of Honor that's coming up that is being taped tonight. So something to look forward to for us ROH fans. But next up, we had some singles action, and when they puffed this graphic up, I was like, I don't know who wins that, because these are two perennial jobbers to me. No offense to them. They're talented guys. They're funny guys. They bring the comedy anytime they're out there. But I regularly see these guys lose to anyone they're against. So putting them against each other was very interesting choice here, as you had Jacoby Watts with Nick Camarado, which a nice little change of pace, because we've only seen over the last couple of weeks Jacoby Watts team up with Nick Camarado and barely get into the ring. So this was Jacoby Watts in one-on-one action, and he's facing the assistant to the EVPs of All Elite Wrestling, Brandon Cutler. We start off with Watts. Watts' music is like so ridiculous, but it fits his character to a T. He's like a scam artist, a televangelist. That's what I compared him to. When he came out and the music, I was just like, yeah, this is like televangelist on like at 3 a.m. in the morning. You turn on BET and it's like a black it's like the black feature into the televangelist. Is great stuff. Watts cuts a promo and he says that he believes in us and he will be our light in the darkness, like he was for Nick Camarado. He's interrupted by Brandon Cutler, who thinks the people in Nebraska aren't that bright. They are not in Nebraska, which was noted by the commentary. Cutler talks trash to Camarado, who headbutts him before the bell even rings. I literally have in my notes here, I have no clue who's the heel here. That's what I put in my notes. Watts caught Cutler on a springboard, and showing off his strength, he does like a swing out slam, and then he follows up with a stunner to get the win. I was like, wow, okay. I was like, Watts actually won a matchup. So I realized that with Watts getting this win here, he's absolutely right. Nick Camarado has been the problem this whole time. It hasn't been Jacoby Watts not choosing to tag in. It says Nick Camarado is the big loser of this team, and that Jacoby Watts is actually capable if he's facing another jobber like Brandon Cutler. What did you think about this match here?
I just felt bad for Brandon. How did we downgrade Brandon to this? I'm sorry. It's like not because it's Ring of Honor, but because of the match itself. It's just like when I heard the music and I saw him come in, I was like, but why? Why are you doing this? It's like, you're the front of the EVPs. You could do a better match than this at least. And And this thing with the Jacoby, it's not my cup of tea. I'm like, I don't know what the heck you're doing. You don't seem like creepy enough for me to be doing this. So I was hoping that Brenda would win it because I was not interested in him winning the match. When then he won, I went, God dang it! Oh well, it happened. It was like as I say in my co-host edit, it's like it's a match, and it happened because we heard the bell ring.
It was there. It took place. That it happened. That's the best compliment you could give this matchup. But we got one of the staples of Ring of Honor, which is the problem Marina Shafir squash matchup. This time she was facing Maggie Minerva. I
Minerva,
think
yeah.
Minerva was her name. Marina threw her socks at a fan in the crowd. That was mad disrespectful. That's what I put in my notes. That was mad disrespectful. Minerva got a boot on Marina, and that was pretty much her whole offense of this matchup. Marina immediately responded with a big power bomb, and then she followed up with the best name for a finisher out there today, Mother's Milk, as she hugged her into her tits and got the win. What did you think about the latest Marina Shafir squash victory here?
Well, I was really happy when I first saw Maggie. I was like, "Oh, there's a Dreamweight champion." I was like, "That's nice to see Maggie," and I didn't realize I forgot that they were probably going to change her name in a way. And then once I saw that it was Marina, I was like, "Well, good luck, Maggie. I'm sorry you have to be Marina, unfortunately." I just had a feeling obviously it's going to be one of those nice squash matches. But I'm glad for Maggie to get this opportunity to in front of the crowd and people will get to get to know her a little bit more. But again, once I saw Marina, I was like, yeah, this is not going to last too long. And when she put in the submission, I went, good night. Just like it was done. It's another one that it was a match and it happened because we heard the bell ring. But yeah, just another thing is just some, I guess, of giving Marina some kind of a push in a sort of way, I guess. But I don't know where it will be going afterwards, to be honest. But I'm glad for her to get that spotlight, though.
Yeah, it's something that I think Ring of Honor does well, where they have Aminata, seemingly going after Athena in the Ring of Honor Women's Championship, and Red Velvet is going after Billie Starkz in the ROH Women's TV title, but it still feels like they're building people underneath. Like we had a promo from Taya Valkyrie last week. You've had Marina Shafir picking up squash victories. Later on in the show, we had Diamante versus Leyla Hirsch. It still feels like they're building other people underneath who will be ready to, fill in the spot for whoever comes out of those two title matches. They'll have new challengers out there. I think Ring of Honor does a really good job with that in the women's division. I just wish they would do it more and create a heavyweight division. Like they have parts that can make up this the heavyweight title or ROH world title division, but they really haven't established anyone in a big way. So I'm hoping they do that for the men's division because they do it very well in the women's division. But keep coming with those comments in the chat. And remember, super chats, donations are always appreciated. We're going to talk some more Ring of Honor as we're in the squash match section of Ring of Honor for a bit here before we get into the two big title matches. And remember to stick around for TNA Impact and drop the thumbs up on the video. It helps us out. And Kate, I could tell Kate I did a good job with the thumbs up if you show some love that way. Next up, we had a backstage interview, hyping up the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title match later in the show, as we heard from Undisputed Kingdom, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, who talk about them never being mentioned among one of the best tag teams of today. Bennett says that they never mentioned them with the Young Bucks, FTR, the Briscoes, or the Motor City Machine Guns, but they should. Taven calls 2.0 some Melvins and said that they were overlooked and underappreciated. They are the kingdom and they are the undisputed kingdom. What did you think about this little promo here? I like Taven and Bennett. And where do you think they rank as far as like best tag teams? At least I will say in like the AEW ROH sphere. Where do they rank to you?
Like I get where they're coming from because when I think of like AEW as a whole, even involving Ring of Honor, they're not the first tag teams I would mention. Like they said, it's like I will mention the Young Bucks and FTR, for example. And it sucks at the same time because I'm like, your Ring of Honor tag champs, they're on a weekly basis almost on the shows, and especially in AEW. So it's like, to think like you're not mentioned particularly towards the top when a lot of other tag teams are mentioned first. So I get what they're coming from. It feels like really realistic in that aspect when they brought that up. I did like the fact that they how they go back and forth about 2.0. They say, we're 5-time tag team champions, like, and then when they say, oh, because your their name used to be 2.0, how many times are you gonna do this next? Because of the particularly the name, and it's like it's not a trend for us. And we're a tag team. We've been a tag team for a while, and then mention how long they've been together. And I like that. How it feels like they had a back and forth almost for 2.0, even though 2.0 wasn't part of the interview. That's how it felt, and I like the way they talk about it because for me, like I think of usually like the Young Bucks are the top ones for me, FTR because they get featured very often. But I'm like, Undisputed Kingdom is not something that I think about right on top of my head, unfortunately. And I keep thinking in my head, for some reason, I guess, every time I see them, I just want to write United Kingdom instead of Undisputed Kingdom. So they're like UK to me. That's all I can write in my notes. And I just noticed I just put United Kingdom on my notes when I wrote this. But I like how realistic this promo was. Is like talking about their background and how they are. It's like I like this promo and I like how everything happened with the match afterwards. It's like I just wish it would happen more consistently because you don't see them as often, even though you see them more in AEW than Ring of Honor, and it shouldn't be that way either.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point. We have been seeing them more lately,
Yeah.
but when you see them, here it looks good. But then you see them in Ring
Mhm.
of Honor, where they've kind of just been like, I mean, in AEW, where they kind of just been like the seconds for Roddy Strong. They are similarly kind of like joke character, comedy characters, really on AEW television. I would like them to actually get some victories on AEW television. I think it would help their ROH World Tag Team title run as well.
Mhm.
But we got more, action and underway. And like I said, this is the squash match portion. So we had another squash match here as it was the Iron Savages in action versus Isaiah Harris, Jay Marston, and Isnite. I didn't get the last guy's name. I think his last name was Isnite. Did you get
Yeah,
his
I know
name?
his name is Eric, but I don't know how to say the last
Okay.
name.
Eric is Knight, and they faced the Iron Savages. Harris seems like the most athletic of the trio, the unknown names, the kind of independent local talent. But this was really like a showcase, not just for the Iron Savages, but more in particularly a beefcake Boulder. He showcased his strength with like a Samoan drop, fall away slam combo on two of his opponents, and after taking them to Titty City, yes, they were able to do it here. They finished them off with an assisted splash from Beefcake here. What do you think about the Iron Savages? A trios win here. Do you think that they're going to be maybe in position for the tag team division, trios division? You got, Bang Bang Gang as the unified trios champions. I would hope that means that they're going to, show up for at least the pay-per-views. They don't have to show up for the weekly show, in my opinion. I know Kate feels differently. She always wants her champions here, but I feel as the unified trio champions in AEW and ROH, I think they can just show up for the pay-per-views in ROH while they consistently are featured on like Collision as the trios champions. What do you think about Iron Savages being potential challengers?
I liked, especially like after this match, I'm used to Bear Bronson, but seeing Beefcake here having that highlight, I liked it a lot because I feel like I'm not used to seeing him having that spotlight. So I'm glad it was him in this match. And yeah, I was like, I would like for them to be featured more often. I was like, I built them up for either a tag team or trios, but I still like keep building them up to like it seems like silly, but at least with like silly victories to at least get that title match eventually. The part with this, I kept laughing with the commentary. This is one of the few times I actually was paying attention to what they said because when they told us like, oh, we're gonna take you to Titty City, he said, I hope it's a refundable ticket because it's the hairiest place on earth, and I can laugh about that because I'm from Orlando, from the happiest place on earth. So that was really fun. I like that the references here during the match in itself, but I like the Iron Savages winning. I just hope they did like give them a direction, whether it's a tag team or the trios, and just once they pick it, just keep moving forward with them. They are because it was a fun match.
Yeah, they have a lot of charisma and they always have fun out there, whether it be as, baby faces like they were before. But since their heel run, I feel like Jameson has really kind of stepped up as like the mic guy, getting the heat, whether it be local heat or just heat in general, calling people dummies and stuff like that. I like how they've transitioned into this heel run on Ring of Honor television. But We had one more squash match, just one more. This is when I was feeling kind of tired. I needed to get my Coke, my not that type of Coke, but my Coca-Cola, get that caffeine in my system to wake up so I could be ready for the home stretch of the episode, because we had our third squash in a row. It was Lance Archer one-on-one with Dion Roosman. Roosman, I don't know what he did. He might have crapped in Tony Khan's bag or something, because his first match that I saw him was 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, where he got destroyed by Roosh. And then here he's facing Lance Archer. So he must have got the short end of the stick, must have crapped in Tony Khan's bag. I don't know, or his Cheerios. I don't know what he did, but he faces Lance Archer here. Roosman got his shoulder up on a black hole slam, which surprised the hell out of me. I thought it would be over after like one move. Roosman tried to fight back until Archer stomped on his chest. Roosman again made another comeback. He hit a nice little spear and got Archer off his feet. He went to the top rope and went for a senton, but Archer was able to move out the way. He hits a big choke slam and then picks him up, finishes him off with the blackout. This went about a minute and a half. Quick squash victory for Lance Archer here. But I saw somebody in the chat asking who is a part of the ROH kind of like men's division or heavyweight division. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I will say it here. Lance Archer's right there. Lance Archer, I feel, has a higher ceiling in Ring of Honor than he does in AEW. In AEW, anytime he gets a victory is to set him up to lose to a bigger star, a bigger main event babyface. I feel in Ring of Honor, he could be a great kind of like pay-per-view challenger for Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. What do you think about Archer's kind of ceiling in Ring of Honor?
It's not because he's tall that you're saying the high ceiling.
Well, that too. That is also true. He would hit his head if there was a glass ceiling.
Yes. No, it definitely, I agree with you there, because he's one of those, like, it just feels like you could build a good foundation with Lance, and he's like somebody that's really like constant, and you could definitely build something around him. And he, like you said, is like, when he started with AEW, and then all of a sudden I see him getting title matches here and here, and then losing all of them. It's like, then what's the point of having Lance do this when he's never going to get a shot at being a champion? I really want him to be a champion at some point, and it hasn't happened. But this match particularly, though, like you said, I felt like it was gonna be ending after the one move. So when he came on Dion and he had a little fight in him, I was very surprised that he did, and I was like, especially with Lance, like, are you sure you want to do this with Lance? Because I wouldn't want to do this with Lance of all people. But still, it was one of those, like, it didn't last too long either way. But it's just like I was surprised when he had a little bit of fight in him and he actually get some offense. So it was like, who was it? One of the guys, I forgot who said it in the challenge, like, at least he was on TV and he got that spotlight, especially like constantly. So it's like, it's nice to see that happening for him as well.
Yeah, I like Roosman, getting his little shine out here, and he got some moves. He got more moves than I thought he would on on Lance Archer. But like I said, I think Lance Archer, you just keep building him up. I think he could be good for the world title. I see A-Shock in the chat who says like guys like Josh Woods, Wheeler Yuta, Lee Moriarty. I feel like Wheeler Yuta is more of like an AEW guy, but I said before, Lee Moriarty is the type of guy that you can pit in like the TV title division. If they still want to keep around the pure title, I don't know what they're doing with it, because Wheeler Yuta was out from January until recently and hasn't defended the pure title, so I don't know if that's continuing or not. I know he walks out with it on AEW television, but he hasn't been back on Ring of Honor in God knows when. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. I would not mind if they just disbanded it for now, because if you're not going to have a pure division, then what's the use of having the title? So yeah. We did at this point get the aforementioned segment where we go backstage and we hear from Atlantis Jr., who challenges the winner of Kyle Fletcher versus Lee Johnson to defend the Ring of Honor TV championship against him, but not in ROH, not in AEW, in Harina, Mexico. And that's going to be for CMLL. I don't know when the date is going to be for that, but Atlantis Jr. is one of like the stalwarts, one of the big stars from CMLL. I like him, coming over to AEW and Ring of Honor, getting an opportunity for the TV championship against Fletcher or Johnson. We'll find out when we talk about that. But does that make you interested in seeing that in Arena Mexico? Will you go out your way to see it on CMLL?
Yeah, I'm like, especially when you have somebody like the winner, because we're not going to mention yet who won the match, going against him. It's like it definitely it's interesting. We've seen clips of, like, for example, with Willow recently, and it's like that was something that I definitely gonna want to go back and look at it. And I feel like it's a good way to like show all the partnership. It's like, yeah, we had the title matches in AEW and Ring of Honor, but it's nice to get them on in CMLL as well, and kind of make it a little bit of more of an equal partnership in that aspect. It's like the title matches can happen anywhere basically, and I really like that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Next, we had some more action from the women's division. It was Diamante going one-on-one with Leyla Hirsch. Leyla Hirsch took a loss in a trios matchup. I believe it was either last week or the week before. And I like commentary mentioning that that was one of the only 3 times that Leyla Hirsch has been pinned on Ring of Honor television, and she was looking to get her momentum back here. Leyla got an early advantage that frustrated Diamante in a nice little back suplex. Diamante gained an advantage. There was a lot of grappling and judo tosses during this matchup. Diamante worked over the ribs throughout her offense when she kind of got Leyla Hirsch down. Hirsch made a comeback, hitting some nice looking German suplexes, but she was selling the ribs, so she couldn't really capitalize on that. Diamante tried to put Hirsch away with the crossroads, it seemed, but Leyla Hirsch was able to counter into an inside cradle for the win. And then post-match, Diamante, very frustrated by the loss, she hit a sliding leg kick and then followed up with a crossroads to lay out Leyla Hirsch. So it seems like this issue between Leyla Hirsch and Diamante is just brewing here after this loss. Kind of fluke victory for Leyla Hirsch getting the inside cradle here. What did you think about this matchup between the ladies? I thought it was decent action right here.
Yeah, this is another one that I really enjoyed. I feel like just when I felt like it was picking up, it just ended. And
Yeah.
I mean, putting aside the fact that Leyla has had victories and she's barely lost in Ring of Honor, I feel like the way this match was built, I feel like it could have gone either way, and I really like that because I feel like aside from the past victories, it would have kept me guessing as the match was going on, and I was really enjoying the back and forth they had with each other here. So when the victory came, I was like, no, I don't want it to be done. I feel like it came out of nowhere, but I did like Diamante coming in here and just like taking that moment and saying, no, this is not how I wanted it to go because it just came out of nowhere for me, and going and attacking Leyla after the match and putting like that mark on her and that stamp of like, no, this is not how it should have been. It should have been me winning instead. I really liked how it came up about later.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it seems like they're building a non-title women's feud because, like we said, a lot of the focus as of late in Ring of Honor for the women's division has been on MIT versus Queen Aminata and Red Velvet. But like I said, you have Marina Shafir, who's picking up like squash victories. She's building momentum, becoming this dominant force. You had Taya Valkyrie talking about getting herself back into the women's division and back into contendership. And then you got a little mini feud here between Diamante and Leyla Hirsch, 2 women who I feel like deserve more credit because they've kind of been kind of like stalwarts of the ROH women's division over the last year. So I like the fact that we're building some non-title feuds. It's nice to see because I said it, I think I said it last week. It was very much akin where the focus of the Ring of Honor really became the women's division last year, and that led to kind of it flowing over into AEW in a similar fashion of how the women's revolution was started in NXT, and then we slowly but surely saw it on the main roster. It's kind of similar in that sense, but not as big of an impact like we saw with NXT translating into the main roster. But we have been seeing more and more focus on the AEW women's division, especially in 2024. So I want to see them kind of fill things out in ROH. Don't forget where the bread is buttered, where it was first buttered for the women's division.
Yeah, and it just reminds me a lot of how it is because I watch NXT very often. That's the one that I watch on a weekly basis. And one thing I love about NXT is the fact that we have so many stories happening at the same time, and a lot of them are non-title feuds. So to see that happening in Ring of Honor, it's nice to see that happening. And you never know who's gonna get built up from that feud to go for the title sooner or later. So it's always nice to see like how things kind of move around and how there's always something going on. It's like whether it's with the title or without the title, there's something happening. And I love that about NXT. So I'm glad they're doing that with Ring of Honor too.
Yeah, NXT does an excellent job with that, and that's why they had to come up with the NXT Women's North American Championship because they have so much female talent up and down that roster. But Next up was our first of two big title matches here. Like on a regular week of Ring of Honor, this would have been the main event here with the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles up for grabs. We saw footage of Daddy Magic picking up the win in Canada against Mike Bennett last month, which gained him and Cool Hand Ange their title opportunity here. He was jumped by the Undisputed Kingdom. I feel like Daddy Magic though has been wearing these this rib tape ever since he was attacked by Kill Switch like 3-4 months ago. I think it was like in the build up to Revolution that he first started wearing this taped up ribs. Is he trying to be the poor man's fake Italian DDP?
Maybe. I didn't even think about that or how long he's had it for. Dang.
It's been a while. It's been a while. So I'm like, man, your ribs ain't never recovering. It's like DDP. DDP wore that from like the end of 1997 through until like 1999 when he won the world championship. But you had Undisputed Kingdom defending the tag team titles against 2.0. 2.0 were rolling very early on here, but it was a lot of like back and forth in the early portion of this matchup before Bennett and Taven took over, isolating Cool Hand Ange. I like the commentary always does a great job. Ian and Caprice, we always compliment them on the show. I feel like they're probably AEW and Ring of Honor is probably like 1A, 1B between them and Shivani and Nigel McGuinness for the best commentary team under the Tony Khan brands, because Caprice and Ian have such good chemistry together, but they always mention little things like Cool Hand Ange being out of action, ever since he got married to Ruby Soho. So he's a little bit rusty, and that's why Kingdom was focusing on him. He even, showed a little bit of that rust as the Kingdom hit their like DVD into just the tip. And I think Cool Hand Ange forgot to sit up for the knee strike. So Taven had to run past him, then run to the other ropes, and then hit the knee for Bennett to get the near fall. They tried for the Hail Mary, their finisher, the Spike Power Driver, but that was cut off by Ange, who made the hot tag to Daddy Magic. Menard caught Bennett with a Boston Crab, which was a nice little call to a fellow Canadian and Rick Martel. Taven tried to punch Menard to break the hold, but Ange clotheslined him out of the ring. Bennett made the ropes. 2.0 hit a double snake eyes into a double DDT for a near fall. Then Taven threw the tag title into the ring. This distracted Daddy Magic, who grabbed the belt. The referee tried to snatch it away from him, having a little tug of war, which allowed Bennett to get a roll up with a schoolboy to retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. 2.0 looked very frustrated and upset after the matchup. Cool Hand Ange showed like a sense of like being upset with Daddy Magic, which I understand, because I don't understand why Daddy Magic was grabbing the title. You're either gonna get disqualified. It's right in front of the referee. Like, just let the referee take the belt instead of getting distracted and doing the tug of war with them. And then you also had Undisputed Kingdom celebrating on the ramp with Bennett saying that they are the best damn tag team in the world. What did you think about the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title match here?
To me, the part that really stood out, it's that moment with Daddy Magic has, I think it was Mike on that submission, the Boston Crab. And that moment there, and it's like and then all of a sudden we had Ange taking care of Matt Taven outside. And I was like, that would have been the perfect ending for me. Take out Matt, and then Matt, he's focusing here. Mike can almost tap out here because it's by himself. And I knew it wouldn't happen there, because I figured they wouldn't do a change of hands of the championship here on the tapings like this. But it's like, that would have been the perfect ending to watch there. And it's like, have them win right there. And then when it kept going, it's like, dang it, no, I didn't want the ending to happen the way it did. So that was like my moment. I was like, shoot, that was like, I almost felt like a picture perfect kind of moment for them to win the titles. So I was kind of like thinking, dang it, I wish it would happen here, but I know it won't. But it's a little bit upsetting thinking about that, but overall, I feel like it's still a fun match between both tag teams, and I really enjoyed this one too. I'm glad it was a championship match, and they got the opportunity to do so. But just after this, how do we get them to have a rematch in any way, shape, or form, or do they just move on to somebody else? Because I know we barely get the champions on the show as it is. So
Yeah, and when we do get them, it's usually like a proving ground matchup. So it
Yeah.
was nice to see them in a championship match. But that's a good question of like who would be like next in line because there's not a lot of babyface tag teams unless you have a team like Top Flight who can come over to Ring of Honor and get an opportunity. But it seems like Top Flight is already starting a story on the on AEW television with Leo Rush interacting with them, but now you got Leo Rush who possibly could be in the TNT Championship ladder match as he's facing Action Andretti in a qualifying matchup on Rampage. So I mean, there's Top Flight who could be a possibility. I've been thinking for probably like the past year when in the ladder match that Top Flight Dante Martin got injured on that Canadian Destroyer, snapping his leg, that horrifying injury that he got. I thought that they should have probably been the ones to win the tag team titles there. You got Penta still around with Ray Phoenix. Maybe they can come back to Ring of Honor. Who do you think is going to be next in line for Undisputed Kingdom now?
Yeah, I feel like Top Flight is definitely probably like my number one choice if I were to put it that way. Because, but I like you said, they're involved in something else. So just like I feel like the other teams are like the Aaron Savages, and it's like they're heels. So it's like, would you want that really to happen right now? I'm not sure really. And yeah, like you said, it's like the Lucha Bros are there. We don't know how long we have Penta for, or how they're gonna go about that part of it. So you never know. But yeah, I just kept thinking, it's like who's really next afterwards. It's just like, do we give them a rematch? And if so, what will be like, the ways to give them that rematch? Because I don't see anybody else really going for them right now. That's a face team.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Maybe the whole Top Flight and Leo Rush story is just for Forbidden Door because it seems like one of them is either Leo or Action Andretti is going to be in that ladder match with Dante. So maybe it's a part of that story for now that's going to be concluded next Sunday at Forbidden Door, and then they can start making appearances back on Ring of Honor because I feel like they would be like a great choice to dethrone Undisputed Kingdom for these tag team titles, in my opinion. And they've had the titles for a while. They won it back just before, I think it was World's End, where they won the titles when they were under the mask. Oh, that time with the devil storyline. Feels like a whole different era of of ROH and AEW back then. It was just like 6 months ago. It's crazy. Some big news in the chat from Frantic World letting me know that SRS has put up a post on Twitter saying that the NJPW Strong Open Weight Champion Gabe Kidd is at the AEW tapings. Gabe Kidd, one of the big stars, one of the breakout stars of 2024. He's my first half of 2024. He's been my breakout star. Just his promo work, his character work has been amazing. He just had a showcase sensational matchup against Kaito Kiyomiya in Pro Wrestling Noah for the GAC Heavyweight Championship. Of course, he beat Eddie Kingston back in May to become the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. He's going to be in the A block of the G1 Climax. But what do you think about Gabe Kidd at the AEW tapings? I don't know if he's used yet, but he's there. What do you think about Gabe Kidd possibly getting a spot for Forbidden Door?
I can imagine that energy, that high energy that he brings, that I feel like other people are not able to match really. So it's like I can imagine that in AEW just as a whole. And just like I cannot begin to imagine how that would go, or he would go against. But I think it'll be fun just to see that happening. It's like I don't watch New Japan like that, but I see clips of him on Twitter. So just like he's always so fun, and I like the energy that he brings, and it feels like it's rare for people to be that way. So it's like I like for him to get that highlight, and if I get to see him in AEW, even better because I can watch him more often.
Yeah. He's a man, Uh, but I felt like he was the perfect person to feud with MJF. I know they announced on AEW Dynamite this week MJF versus Hechicero, and I understand that they probably didn't want to put MJF versus somebody that they're trying to protect, they're trying to push in New Japan, especially now that he's the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. But honestly, I just wanted Gabe Kidd and MJF to have a promo exchange where they crap on each other's companies, because there is not two guys who crap on each other's company more than Gabe Kidd craps on AEW or MJF crapping on New Japan. I just want to see a promo exchange between MJF and Gabe Kidd.
Yeah, that's some good thinking. I would like to see that.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Uh, so finally, we had the Ring of Honor World Television Championship up for grabs. 2 out of 3 falls was the main event. Kyle Fletcher defending against Lee Johnson. Remember, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Ring of Honor, but you stay tuned here, stay locked here on the Fightful YouTube channel or any other platform that you're watching this, because we got our TNA Impact review. Cresta Star and Joel Pearl will be here to talk about all the action that went down with TNA Impact. This is the first Impact since Against All Odds, where Jeff Hardy returned to TNA. So a lot for them to discuss. Remember to drop the thumbs up on the video and keep coming with those comments in the chat. Like I said, been trying to keep my eye on the chat. Anything I see, I will try to highlight some comments, but send those super chat donation because it helps out the channel, helps the channel grow, and helps us grow to more. And it goes back to the contributors as well, which is always nice. But Kyle Fletcher versus Lee Johnson, these two guys tore it up at Supercard of Honor. You had the 2 out of 3 fall stipulation after their promo exchange, but I did not expect this matchup to be this good. Like right off the bat, you get Lee Johnson with a huge tope con hilo as Fletcher was making his way to the ring. He got so much height on this, Astrid. Yes. He flew over Fletcher's back. Like he didn't even hit him really. He like glanced him.
And he almost landed on his feet. I feel like I don't want to say he stumbled, but he was like almost there. But the way he landed, I was like, this is going to be ricochet. I love it.
That was before the bell even rang. He brings him back into the ring. He tries to go for a cross body, but Fletcher rolls to the floor. So he hits this crazy looking dive off the top rope to the outside. At ringside, Johnson starts running Fletcher into the barricade, working over his ribs. Fletcher finally came back with a running heel kick while Lee was on the apron to gain a lead. Fletcher slowed things down for a bit, and this was another commentary kind of pointing that out, that Fletcher is not the same performer that he was even a year ago, where he knows how to slow things down, slow down the pace if he's facing a faster guy like Lee Johnson. Lee hits a big drop kick, and then he hits a neck breaker for a near fall. Johnson tried to follow up, but Fletcher counters and hits a nice looking half and half suplex. Johnson hit some strikes and then hit a standing moonsault for a near fall. Fletcher catches Johnson running at him with a wicked Michinoku driver, dropping him on his head for a near fall. Both men start trading high impact strikes before Kyle clotheslines Lee out of the ring. Fletcher tries for a power bomb on the apron, but Lee fights back. He hits a moonsault off the apron, and then Fletcher catches Lee with a super kick. He follows up with a brain buster on the apron that looked like it crushed. It looked like his whole body like folded up on the apron. Then he brings him back into the ring. He hits a sit out power bomb, but he only gets a 2. Then Fletcher hits a lawn dart into the corner, hits a Yakuza kick, and then a brain buster. That only gets a 2. He's frustrated. He's pissed. So he picks him up, drops him with the reverse tombstone power driver for the first fall of the matchup. I put in my notes, wow. That was just like, it was just back and forth. It was high impact move after high impact move. Like the last 5 minutes of this first fall, I've thoroughly enjoyed. But that led into the second fall, which was much shorter, much more compact, as Fletcher started laying in some mid kicks. Lee was trying to fire himself up and get up, but he didn't get to his feet after that first fall. So Doc Sampson came in the ring to check on Johnson. Fletcher went for the top rope brainbuster, but Lee was able to create an opening. He had multiple strikes, but couldn't put Fletcher down. Fletcher turns him inside out on a lariat, and then he tried for the lawn dart again, but Johnson was able to reverse it into the corner and then gets an O'Connor roll for the second fall. And they noted on commentary that's the first pinfall loss in Ring of Honor that Fletcher has suffered in 2024. Then we get the third fall, which was almost as good as the first fall of this matchup. Johnson gets a near fall on a counter into a code red. Fletcher cuts off Johnson on the top rope. Lee reversed and hits a flying Canadian destroyer, which was amazing. Fletcher bailed to the floor where Johnson caught him with a tope con hilo sunset flip powerbomb. I had never seen something like that. Fletcher then gets back into the ring at the count of 19. Johnson hits a trio of high fly flows for a close near fall. We get ROH chants at this point. This was like the second time in the show we got chants, and I was like, I'm not used to this. Fletcher then pushes Johnson into the referee. He after faking a neck injury. With the referee distracted, he hits a big old kick to the balls, kick to the ding-a-ling, and then he follows up, brings him to the top rope, hits the brain buster on the top rope, the El Generico finisher for the 1-2-3 to retain the TV title. This was, in my opinion, the best Ring of Honor TV matchup I have seen this year. These guys let it all hang out for 20 minutes. This was a banger. What did you think?
I loved it because especially I know we get to see Kyle on AW constantly, to put it like that, but with Lee we don't get to see him as often, so I feel like it was a good showcase for him, and I really enjoyed seeing that. There was also the point when Kyle's on the outside and they have him from the count out. It's like if this would have been live TV, I feel like this would have had a different reaction to it, especially if it was an AW. I feel like it would have had that moment of like having people at the edge of their seats wondering if he was going to be able to beat the count, and I feel like it felt a little bit different having a smaller audience here. And like you said, it's like I was so surprised when the chant started. I wanted them to like keep going and get them higher, so I was disappointed when they ended so quickly. It's like, no, keep going. It's like your energy's up, the match is giving you that kind of energy, keep it up. And I was hoping that would continue on, but still this year was like, I'm glad the match got a decent amount of time to highlight both of these guys, to give us all this back and forth they had with each other, and I really love this so much. I'm glad that this was the main event out of the both title matches too, because it's like this had that high energy that we needed, and I feel like it needed to happen. I'm glad we got the chance in the opener and in the closer too. And I wanted that energy to continue throughout the episode. And it's like I really enjoyed how it just came about, just everything, and I really enjoyed this so much. There's something I didn't want to take notes on it because I was enjoying the high pacing of it too, and I just love seeing Lee. I just like having that highlight for him, that moment that he gets here. It's like I'm hoping like how does he get a rematch, because I would like to see something like this again, but I don't know how we can kind of have a reason for that to happen though.
Yeah, and it really feels like after his win 2 weeks ago on AEW TV, I was talking with Kate last week. I feel like Kyle Fletcher has built up himself so much as the TV champion that it feels like they're building to a title versus title matchup with him and Mark Briscoe. Maybe not him defending the TV title, but at least him going for the Ring of Honor World Championship after he beat Briscoe in that All-Star Trios match.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening as well. And it's like, for me, it was also when Briscoe won the title, being him like Ring of Honor guy out of all the people in AEW, I thought he would be the one that would be like a foundation, just like Athena is. So I was hoping we would see him more often on TV for Ring of Honor. So now seeing that happen all of a sudden, now this is kind of almost like a title versus title match. I was like, I don't know if I'm a fan of this though. It's like I want Mark to be highlighted more Ring of Honor because I feel like it's more his brand, to put it like that. And even as world champion, how do we go from having Eddie, who was doing the same thing, being a Ring of Honor guy, not being a Ring of Honor, and then we go to Mark thinking, oh, Mark is going to be that Ring of Honor guy, and then we don't get that with him either. So it's like, I don't know if I would like something like this happening when we get Kyle on AEW more often than Ring of Honor as well. I don't know. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's interesting with both of them kind of being featured more on AEW more and more often. But I'm loving this Kyle Fletcher on ROH. He feels like a guy that could be a next Ring of Honor World Champion. But we had a great episode of Ring of Honor. Once again, guys, I'm not used to this. I'm going to appreciate this. And it's very ironic. We got the best episode when Kate's not here. But you know who is here? The Impact people, the TNA folks, to here to talk about NXTNA, the TNA Impact, everything that's going on. It's an exciting time to be a TNA fan. I'll let Joel and Cresta pop themselves in when they're ready. There we go.
Do that. I forgot.
There we go. No, I can do it, but I didn't know if you were ready or not. I was like, I'm not gonna assume. I'm not gonna do all that. I'll let you come in when you can.
Oh, we're here. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, guys. How was Ring of Honor? Sound like you guys had a good time this evening.
They actually gave us a show. I was very surprised. It was episode 69, which is very ironic that Kate missed it. Yes, very nice. And they gave us probably the best Ring of Honor TV matchup of the year with Lee Johnson and Kyle Fletcher. So 2 out of 3 falls. I would say go out of your way to watch it.
Kate's too busy enjoying a collision tonight.
As Timeless Tony Storm would say. What went down on TNA Impact? Did Joe Hendry get a push because he didn't get it at Against All Odds?
He showed up.
Listen, I love what's happening for Joe Hendry. Sorry, I'm congested. And let me say that I'm a Joe Hendry stan. But that massive pop for him to be eliminated first, Mr. Hickenbottom, I just want to talk.
No. You don't know. But now.
I just want to talk.
No. I've had this discourse a billion times.
Well, 1,000,000,001, Joel. I've had it. I just want to talk. Come outside. Leave your jacket and shoes inside.
We're about to do it again, aren't we? We're about to do this all over again.
Yeah. Well, you guys got a lot to discuss with what went down on NXT with Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian making the final 4 of that battle royal, and then everything that went down on TNA Impact. I want to thank Astrid for joining me, being my Ring of Honor fellow loyalist. Much love to you, and much love to Kate. I hope I held it down for her, but it's late for me. I should get some rest.
Get out of here, Astrid. It's lovely to see you. How are you doing?
It was a fun episode. I'm glad it was the longest episode I've seen of Ring of Honor as well. It had a good balance of title matches and squash matches, so it was good for me, at least this time around.
Well, I'm glad. It makes for a much easier show to talk about when it's not a bad show.
Yes, it definitely helped.
Amazing. All right, y'all go.
Have fun.
Have a good night.
In your bed. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Much love.
Y'all take care. Have a good night.
Is it time for TNA and the TNA jabronis to jabrone about TNA?
It's a lot of things. Cresta. How are you?
I was not doing well earlier, but now, shout out to modern medicine, I'm feeling fancy. Not free, but fancy. How are you, Joel?
I'm here. I'm ready.
As am I. Let's do the thing that the children want us to do.
Yeah, let's get right into it. And a 1 and a 2. Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful.com, and it's time for your TNA Impact post show. It's June 20th, 2024. I am Actual Pearl, and of course, joined always with me is the one, the only, the lovely, the fantastic Cresta Star. Hi, Cresta.
Hi, Joel. Today was a good day for TNA Impact. I'm so happy for this moment TNA is having. What a good day. What a good day overall. What did you think of TNA? Matter of fact, let me ask you a better question. What do you think of what's been going on with TNA as a whole? I know you said you don't want to talk about it. Well, guess what, Mimi? We're going to talk about it because you're the only person I can talk about it with.
That's fine. We can talk about it. I talk about it over on Fightful Overbooked. Jeremy Lambert and I talked about it on In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've touched on it. I'll touch on it again here because there are people who don't necessarily listen to our morning show and maybe want just the TNA side of things, and I can do that. Absolutely. I'm doing okay. Tonight's episode of TNA Impact was okay. It set up some things that I like. It's set up some things that I'm hoping don't stand. But we'll see as we get through the night and we talk about it a little bit more. And of course, if you want to talk about it a little bit more with us, you're more than welcome to if you're live in the chat. Hello, how are you? What's up? And of course, you can always donate a super chat any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. And if you don't want to do the super chat route, well, we've got our Humper Chats, humperchats.com. Cresta, tell them about it, please.
You take your fingers or lack thereof. You can do speech to text if you would like. Go ahead and head to humperchats.com. Type your comment in. You put your dollar amount in. We just get to keep a little bit more of the proceeds, and it makes us happy, Shawn happy, the Decepticons happy. And every year I'm like, Sean Rossett, I would like a raise. He's gonna say, Cresta, this is wrestling, and I'm gonna thank you, sir, for your time. So humperchats.com.
Bing,
bing, bing, bong.
We're back. There's plenty to talk about, and of course, leave a thumbs up on the video. And subscribe to us here at youtube.com/Fightful if you haven't already in the audio realm, because I know some of you are listening to our smooth voices tonight. Go ahead and you can drop a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice on the Fightful channel and the Overbook channel. Leave those 5-star reviews because it gets us getting a little bit closer to more of our friends listening to what we have to say about professional styles of wrestling. And I feel like the world needs a little bit more of that. Maybe not. Everyone has a podcast, but love us. We're the good ones. We're the ones who do the best, right? Speaking of the best, let's open up Impact with the system celebration. Feels like they just did one of these, but they did win it against all odds. They did the sweep. We talked about it on our post show, which you can find here on youtube.com/Fightful. We did it last week on Friday. They had to edit the audio. I don't know if you knew this, Cresta, because the crowd was chanting "shut the F up" at them for the better part of that entire segment.
I mean, I heard a lot of chants, and it's one of those things where it's like, you are so good at being a heel, where I hate to say it, but this is good. No, people are reacting to you. No, granted, it's "shut the F up" or Edge's bitch chants, or what was another chant that I wrote down? Because they were letting the system have it. They were telling Lish to shut up. We can't understand you. They were telling Eddie Edwards to shut up. Your hair is stupid. They were just going ham taro, which I can appreciate, because as a wrestling fan, and I guess as a wrestling nerd, I'd rather you tell me shut the F up, you're boring, boo, than you just sit there and be like, well, I'm going to go take a piss.
True.
Or I'm going to go get a beer.
Yeah, no, I'm much happier listening to fans react than other times. The other option being nothing, being birdies singing in the background. Instead, you did have a raucous crowd in Chicago. They usually bring it, and I like that. And, Dango's with them. He's been rechristened Johnny Dango Curtis, or JDC, later on in the night as he has a match. He says he's 3 months underbooked, overlooked, and underappreciated. Over. Calls us all the best in the ring and on the mic. And he does the whole, like, everyone knows it, including the suits in the back. And I'm like, that line is very overplayed and lame, but he's trying to make his comeback, routine promo. And then Moose says, I'm not calling you a member of the system. You gotta prove yourself. And I like that, because again, goes back to Against All Odds when they reintroduced Dango, and Moose was like, we're not there yet. So it's good. And meanwhile, Moose is like, I'm unbeatable. I haven't lost a singles match in 2 years, in almost 2 years, and no one can take me out. And then out comes Santino Marella. And this is where things get a little bit dicey for me, Cresta Star. He announces the road to Slammiversary. It's 5 matches. Qualifiers began tonight. The main event was Josh Alexander versus Eric Young. And the winners will qualify for a 6-way TNA title match at Slammiversary. So Moose is going to defend against not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 individuals at Slammiversary.
It's what he deserves. I don't feel bad for Moose.
It's not about feeling
bad for Moose, the character. I'm sorry.
But it's not about feeling bad for Moose. It's about having a match that matters. A 6-pack challenge is like the laziest thing you can do, especially when Frankie Kazarian is one of these people. So here's my plea to TNA. Make it a King of the Mountain match. If you're going to do it with these 6 men, you're going to put the stupid title on the line too. Make it King of the Mountain match. You have another set of TV tapings to do something more interesting than turning this into just a 6-pack challenge. I personally don't think a 6-pack challenge on one of your biggest pay-per-views of the year. And yes, I understand that, Cresta, you and I have sat here week after week and said the top of the card is loaded in TNA. That doesn't mean everybody needs to be a part of it when you have a big pay-per-view like this. What were your thoughts when Santino came out and made the matches and everything that kind of followed with a 6-way at Slammiversary?
I'd be lying to you if I said that I don't like it when the system gets screwed over. I'd be lying. However, I do understand, after what you said, your sentiments of why not have a match that makes sense? Why not do a one-on-one? To me, this does make sense. I see the system retaining. The system is going to make sure that that Moose retains no matter what. And maybe if not Slammiversary, the next match, please, Kat. I love you, Bully Ray, but now is not the time to sit on my stuff. I love him, and I think that he'll be great. But the problem is, it's like, I don't think he loses the match at Slammiversary. I think, hey, all right, you're fired. Sorry, she just bit me for no reason.
Have you considered putting the cat in the piano? And
I'm sorry,
closing the
what?
lid? Have you considered putting the cat in the piano behind you and closing the lid?
I don't know if she's gonna jump up there. It is a grand piano, and she knows how expensive it is. She picked it out.
Good for her. Sorry, give me your on your thoughts about everything.
I don't think Moose loses. I think that this is something that continues until the end of the year, whether it's Ryan Nemeth, Josh Alexander, or somebody else. Right now, the system has so much heat on them that we're dying for them to lose something. And when it didn't happen, I think at Slammiversary, if they lose one thing, they might just lose one thing. You know what I mean? So whoever takes it off of Moose, I don't foresee it in this 6-pack challenge. I see a lot of people, interpersonal problems getting in the way and Moose capitalizing. But if not the next pay-per-view, definitely the next pay-per-view after that, we're going to see the system begin to not work.
Yeah, so just to give an idea of what those 5 matches are for the qualifiers, tonight we had Josh Alexander versus Eric Young. May as well just tell you now, we will break down the match, but Josh Alexander did qualify. He beat Eric Young. You've got Mike Santana taking on Frankie Kazarian. You've got Joe Hendry versus Jake Something. Steve Macklin takes on Sami Callihan. Nick Nemeth versus Rich Swann. Those 2 I just mentioned, those are for next week, and then the week after that are going to be the other aforementioned matches, Hendry and Something and Santana Kazarian. You've got Hendry and Kazarian have a thing. Macklin and Santana have a thing. Sammy doesn't. Callahan has nothing. Jake Something doesn't have anything, connected to this match. Nick Nemeth, of course, is connected to Moose. There is interconnectivity, but it's kind of like I said earlier, a few episodes ago, even Nick Nemeth versus Moose 2, to me, would have been a stronger main event than doing this. And then underneath, you're building a card that has a lot of other interpersonal issues, such as the King of the Mountain match that we, kind of speculated on. You can make something out of that. Instead, putting the title in it kind of takes away from something more important, which is the TNA World Title. So I'm not in love with the 6-way dance on a pay-per-view. I can see it at a Turning Point or one of those specials, but on a pay your premium pay-per-view, it's not my favorite thing.
I can see that again, but I just see it as them stretching out the system as long as they can, because I do have a lot of heat. Nobody likes those guys. Even if we wanted to like you guys individually, you guys together are obnoxious, and it works. I agree that maybe we should have started the system to have it culminate at Slammiversary, since Slammiversary, for all intents and purposes, is TNA's WrestleMania. But again, I don't see Moose or anyone in the system not Slammiversary, maybe the next pay-per-view after that, but definitely the third pay-per-view after that, because by then it'll be what? That's July, August. So in September, we could start seeing cracks in the system if they keep it that long, you know what I mean? And especially with someone like Joe Hendry, who is on the rise, I don't know what you do here. Because if I'm TNA, Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace are one of my biggest stars who are very clearly being courted by WWE. So I might pull the trigger on Hendry being champion over Moose to make sure he don't jump ship. You know what I mean?
That's another conversation for another time. We're going to get into the NXT TNA stuff very soon. Spitfire take on the Hex. They defeat the Hex. I was a little confused when commentary started saying they built themselves back to the top of the mountain when all they did was win a singles match and then had a tag team victory. And now they're getting their contractually obligated Knockouts tag team title match again. It looked like Marty Bell got knocked loopy at one point during the match. The finish was very awkward, and just the way she looked after the match, it looked like something wasn't all there for Marty Bell. And I hope maybe that if that's the reason why, I hope she's all right. And the match was what it was. Easy for me to say. Spitfire gets the win over the Hex. Do you have anything to add to that one?
Unfortunately, no. This match, I really wrote down what is happening this match. Nice double moonsault. Because not to say that there was a bad match, it kind of felt like a smosh. Like there was a lot of things going on in this match. And maybe it's me, Jesus.
Yeah, the match just kind of happened. And from what I heard at the tapings, they said it was a bit rough. So we'll leave it at that. The big news was that Spitfire is back on track and they want their contractually obligated rematch. Soundcheck with Kushida This was unexpected. I did not expect Alan Angels to have a backstager with Kushida. Kushida says he's looking for the cure for the ink, the Gresham ink, and he's working with doctors. And then meanwhile, Alan Angels calls him a snake oil salesman, calls him a big old liar, and then says, you want to fight about it? And Kushida's like, yeah, sure, let's have a match. So Kushida and Angels next week. I don't know if you have anything to add about Kushida and his new Dr. Kushida look.
All I thought of was Dr. Mario. And at the end, when Kushida said, okay, next week I'll beat you up, Alan Angels was like, oh, I didn't think he was going to say that. I'm like, what did you think he was going to say?
The man's English is terrible. He heard fight. He goes, yeah, I'll have a fight. Sure.
Come on, Alan. Get it together.
Alan Angels, you're a smarter man than that. Just because Evil Uno's about to beat your ass in an indie doesn't mean that you need to bring that energy to TNA where you know better. You should know. The problem is he's probably going to lose because what's his face is going to show up. Gresham's going to show up and just squid ink everybody. Then it's over.
Maybe, but that's not going to happen before this man doesn't get caught in like several hoverboard locks. This man's arm is about to look like spaghetti.
That's fair. Chicago street fight. Frankie Kazarian defeats Ace Steel. This match was what it was. I was very interested in the fact that Kazarian was not called the King of TNA, and he didn't stop Jade to make her say it either. Either he had business to conduct or he's moving on from King of TNA, which that didn't go unnoticed by me. I appreciate that they're trying to explain the importance of Ace Steel and his history in TNA. They did the scan the QR code, TNA Plus will take you to this match right now. And I'm like, wait, I want people to watch the show. Why aren't you want people to watch an Ace Steel match? It was fine. Listen, the match was inoffensive. It was a street fight. Ace Steel didn't bite Frankie Kazarian, so really everybody lost here. Come on. You know it's true. You can cuddle the kitty all you want, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Ace Steel didn't bite anyone, so clearly he deserved to lose the match, which he did. Kazarian wins with the fade to black on the steel chairs, and then he goes to beat up Ace Steel some more. Joe Hendry makes the save. Let's talk.
I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I didn't know Ace Steel was an actual wrestler. When they showed him and one corporate mandate Punk looking exactly alike, I was like, oh, well, that's a thing. This match was fine. For a Chicago street fight, this felt very tame. I don't know. Maybe if somebody said a Detroit, Chicago, Bronx, LA street fight, I don't know. I'm expecting things to get a little bit more violent than what it did. I'm not, I don't know what I expected. Ace Steel yeeting the garbage can into the ring and him getting yeeted out of the ring was fun. But overall, I don't really have too many notes for this one either because I'm like, again, for a street fight, this felt very no DQ. And I know they're the same, but this just felt very no DQ. It didn't feel like a street fight at all. If you know what I mean.
No, I do, because they didn't bring out any toys until midway through the match. It was mostly outside of the ring. And then all of a sudden they came in, they rang the bell, and they started with the kendo sticks and chairs and a garbage can. And other than that, it was pretty tame. I don't know what people expected. I mean, it's Ace Steel isn't an active competitor. Kazarian is doing what he's doing. The post-match was really just to bring out Joe Hendry, get the pop, and do that. So let's talk about the pop. NXT.
Love Joe Hendry.
Everyone.
Sorry, what?
Let's talk about NXT. Let's talk about what we had started in the crossover, and I stepped all over you for a reason, because I think a lot of people aren't seeing what this was. Joe Hendry came out of the NXT Battle Royal on Tuesday, part of the 25 men over the top Battle Royal for a NXT Championship. It's not a World Championship. NXT title match at NXT Heatwave in Toronto. So Hendry comes out, cuts a promo, gets the entrance, which in a Battle Royal doesn't happen to everybody, and then immediately gets thrown out by a group led by Frankie Kazarian after Hendry had basically told everyone, I'm going to win. I'm going to bring the title to TNA. Painted a big old target on his back. I want your thoughts, because you started on it, and then I'll give you mine.
So I am of a few different minds when it comes to this TNA WWE NXT partnership. One, what an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, where you can see TNA wrestlers on NXT and hopefully eventually WWE. Also, I'm of the mind of, I don't want you guys to do what everyone does. You come to NXT and you squash you squash TNA wrestlers and then you leave. It does nothing for TNA. Worst case scenario, you start treating TNA the way you did when you got AJ Styles, the Good Brothers. You start poaching all of their fucking talent, which makes me really sad. I'm like, Joe Hendry in particular, and I've always been a fan of Jordynne Grace, and I think that she is phenomenal in her own right. But Joe Hendry is having such a viral moment right now. To me, if I'm any company with how over he is, kind of like how the Acclaimed was super over for a hot second, I would want to strike while the iron is hot. If I'm TNA, I'm like, the last thing I want is for Joe Hendry to go to NXT. They treat him really well, and I can't outbid NXT. What am I gonna do? I could offer you. I'm making numbers up, and I'm not saying this is real. But if I'm TNA, let's say I could offer you Joe Hendry $10K every month, and NXT is like, well, I could offer you $100,000 a year. What do you think he's gonna take? Not saying that that's what it is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was somebody like that, you know, and the same thing with Grace. I can see dream matches with Grace with girls in NXT, WWE. I just don't want TNA to lose its identity because WWE is going to. I think it's great that everyone gets this exposure. We get more eyes on TNA. I think TNA is a phenomenal brand. But again, I just don't want their talent getting poached, and I don't want their talent getting squashed when they go to the Fed.
Let's be real. First of all, the Joe Hendry stuff. Hendry was not going to come in and win this thing. He wasn't going to get a match at Heatwave. He wasn't going to get a big push. He's not signed to a WWE talent deal. But he got the best thing possible, which is a entrance, a pop, and a promo. And then he got tossed out, and that was the most memorable thing, and it's what everybody is talking about, for better or worse. This is indicative of also how Joe Hendry is still seen. We've been tracking his recent serious contender rise, but most people know him as the meme. They know him as the song. They know him as what he is, and that's fine. That is okay. He's massively over. But I think for people to complain that he should have won the Battle Royal or gone further or anything like that, they don't know what WWE is looking for in talent. The moves mean nothing. And also, if you're a wrestler, you know what the first match you're put in when you are learning how to wrestle Cresta Star? Do you know what the first match is that you're put in?
With the training dummy with Kota Ibushi. I just saw that video.
It's not that. It's a Battle Royal. They put you in Battle Royals because that's how you learn on the fly. That's how you learn how to go, and that's how you get the reps in front of a crowd. Joe Hendry doesn't need reps in front of a crowd. Joe Hendry's been doing this for a long time, and the idea here was that he got out, he got over, and he didn't need to stay. Now, when it comes to the actual partnership between NXT and TNA, I think early on you can pretty much tell that the benefit here for TNA is some rub. They get to forward some of their stories because, again, what happened at Battleground in an NXT Women's Championship match, the TNA title became a focal point towards the end. Then the crossover was sending Tatum Paxley. Tatum Paxley, who is still new to wrestling, but hasn't had the external reps beyond NXT as much. So what do? You send her out to a new room, to a new company, under a new vision or a different vision, and you let her get those reps because that way she sees wrestling differently than what she sees at the PC, and it's a different presentation. And also it freshens up, people get excited, yada, yada, yada. Now, on the TNA side of things, they bring in their top talent. It's free scouting for WWE, let's face it. And then they also get to move some stories along in TNA. Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian, that moved on because of the NXT Battle Royale. By Elegance versus Jordynne Grace, that seems to be on the horizon. That happened because of what happened at NXT Battleground. Do I think that there's room for more? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to see it anytime soon? No. I posited this over on In the Weeds this past week. If, this is a big if, there is any room for any sort of inter-promotional warfare type of thing, you know when you do it? You do it at Survivor Series weekend.
I was going to say that or War Games.
It's November.
That would make the most sense.
Not a War Games match. You do your super card, you do your special thing in an arena because the you'll fill an arena for a Sunday night TNA NXT special after Survivor Series War Games has happened. And also at that point it's November, so we all know that War Games doesn't mean shit. It's the end of the year, so people are getting ready for the Royal Rumble season. And in TNA world, which is where we are talking about right now, Bound for Glory has already happened. That's already reset. Bound for Glory is their biggest pay-per-view of the year, and that will have already happened. So you may as well start doing it there. I think it's great that Joe Hendry got 1 million views and is promoting it, and he's doing the most with his newfound.
He's maximizing his minutes.
100%.
Absolutely.
And he needs that. Hendry should not have been in the Final Four. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Doesn't do
I
anything.
agree with that, though. I think him and Kazarian should have switched. I love Kaz. I think he's great. But I think right now it's Joe Hendry's time. I understand both sides of it, though. I'm a very both sides down the middle girl when it comes to wrestling. Because like Joel said, if you had him in the Final Four, I don't think it would have done any difference because he doesn't need the reps in front of the crowd. He got his pop. He got an entrance. Like, no one gets an entrance in a Royal Rumble. He got an entrance and a promo. You know what I mean? And he still got to do the thing with Shawn Michaels at the end. Kaz didn't do that. And I'm not saying that Kaz has to prove himself because Kaz has been in the wrestling business more and longer than Joe Hendry has. I do agree that I think that if you wanted to really get the most out of the Joe Hendry experience, because the NXT crowd who doesn't know anything about Joe Hendry went crazy for this man. Who knows? Who knows? Royal Rumble is right around the corner. And if this partnership lasts, they're going to need bodies. I'm not saying Joe will win the Royal Rumble, but a Royal Rumble entrance, if you did that on NXT, can you imagine number 8 say his name? And the crowd would lose their shit. So I can understand not making him go too far. And then in the Rumble, if you want to make him go far and then him lose.
I want to remind everyone that you have NXT taped in front of the same, not just live studio audience, but the same studio audience every week. There's very little turnover there. They're all watching the same thing. It's fine. Joe Hendry will make more appearances. The reason why he shouldn't have made the Final Four is very simple. You want them wanting more, and that's what they did for you. They wanted you wanting more, and then he goes backstage. They show the digital footage where he says to Shawn Michaels, "I'll be back. I can show up anytime, anywhere, any brand, whatever." Left it open. It was perfect. And Frankie Kazarian, you alluded to it. The guy's almost 25 years in the business. That's why he went far in a battle royal, because he's smarter. He's more cunning than Joe Hendry. Hendry will come back. He'll live, he'll learn, and he'll grow into a bigger star. He got the big pop. People love that. Next, you move him into where does he fit in the seriousness, quote unquote, of this whole partnership? But I'm still not reading too much into this partnership because, again, it's a big if, and November is a long way away.
Yep.
We got a humper chat from Patrick Moore saying, "Hope my gravestone says he got an entrance, a pop, and a promo." Love y'all. Thanks for helping me learn to fan for TNA. Well, thank you.
TNA is so great. Again, as someone who used to be a TNA hater, like, I'm not watching that shit. I think it's important to realize that wrestling is kind of like going to different restaurants, and there's a lot of things to like. TNA is clownery. Look at what we just talked about with Joe Hendry and Ace Steel. And now we're about to talk about Ali being pressed and then his PCO Steph DeLander date.
I'm excited to talk about the date. I will end on this. For those who are saying that TNA is on a same path or importance as NXT, NXT still beats them every week and on Sunday. When it comes to viewership, when it comes to name brand recognition, NXT may have been around for less time, but TNA hasn't grown the same way that NXT has. It's not a knock at either one of them. This is just, you look at numbers, you look at the way that both are presented. Suffice it to say, there's a reason why TNA is working with NXT and not with Raw or SmackDown, for example. They're working with TNA. TNA is working with NXT because they see the benefit on both sides of how they're doing it. But let's not think that NXT isn't a more well-known promotion at this point.
Yeah, and you could see it as unfortunate, but I do see it as an opportunity because I'll stand by this. I think TNA has the best women's division, North America, excluding anything in Mexico, because luchadores are different. They are built different. They're built differently. But if you are a woman and you want to get like real legit reps in, this works out great because I've heard, I don't watch NXT, but a lot of the complaint I hear about NXT is that their women don't know DK what they're doing for whatever that means. You know what I mean? So against a Rosemary, a Jordan Grace, even Giselle Shaw, you know, there's a great places to get your reps in. And Tatum Paxley, I think, did fantastic last week when she was on there against Jordan Grace. And Jordan Grace is a tall order. So I say give it time. Let it play out. And I unfortunately am of the mind that this is either going to do great for NXT or TNA is going to get some of its top talent poached. Even if that happens, I think TNA has enough talent to replace that top talent. Who are just waiting for a chance.
There are always room to move around. There's always that. This is the last thing I'm going to say on the topic. I love the fact that TNA talent, TNA staff, anyone who works in TNA are so proud of everything they're doing in this crossover. I'm happy about that. There is a camaraderie in that locker room that is unmatched. And I love seeing that. I love seeing them support each other. I think that's fantastic. And I hope they continue to do it. And if any of their talent decide to go over to NXT off of this partnership, I know that there's still going to be love there because everyone just wants to see the success because high tides raise all boats. That's the last thing I want to say on the matter.
Yeah, we want everyone in wrestling to succeed. More money, more good, more wrestling.
As long as they don't suck as human beings. But anyway, Ali is backstage. He doesn't suck. He's actually quite good. He's obsessing over this leaked video. And he's like, we need to find out who it was. And Campaign Singh is now put in charge of putting together a team that's going to discover who is the leak. And then Singh starts to suggest that Ali should go out and speak to people. And then Ali cuts him off before he can even say it, makes the idea his own. And Singh's just like, yeah, totally. Just, yeah, that's great. So next week it's going to be the State of the Union, which I think we've done before, the State of the X Division. But now we're doing the full State of the Union. What do you think of this? This was fun stuff.
Campaign Singh was looking a little uneasy. Why do I think Campaign Singh is the one who leaked that video? Because he was like, you want to investigate it? You know, I think you should just talk. He was very quick to change the subject. I'm like, was it you or was it the guy you was hanging out with before?
Mob Ali Shira.
Was that his name? It was Champagne Singh and something Lion, or what's his name before?
Was it Shira? I forget. Wasn't it Shira? Chat's gonna remind us. Either way, if it's Shira, I will laugh. He was on Explosion this week. Yeah, you know what? I thought for a minute that maybe Singh is the one who leaked it. I don't know if I need to see Singh versus Ali in a title competition. But that being said, I like Raj Singh. I think Campaign Singh is a hilarious pivot. He came out of nowhere. That's the thing that makes me feel like he caused the leak or paid for whoever to do the leak.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of came out of nowhere. That shit's great.
Also read body language. The way he was just like, oh, why you want to find out who this is? Go talk to the people. The people love you. You're worried about the wrong things. Yes, I know you're missing $1 million on your bank account, but that's not the part. You can make $1 million more. Don't let the people know you're broke. Don't worry about that. That's what it was giving. It was giving like, I don't know what you're about.
Yeah, the idea of Singh paying for the leak is hilarious to me. We'll see where it plays out. But this is a good segment. I like where they're going with it. I think Singh and Ali play off of each other very well. Singh is a good just shithead, like just an ass kisser type of guy. He's good at that. Speaking of good at that, this first date, the slow clap. Oh my god. This was the dumbest and funnest thing I ever seen. They start off with a slow clap in the hallway, and one of the orderlies, that's later on. They do the intros and everything. And then in the ring, they set up the table and the chairs, and it's garden chairs, and it's everything about it is camp, and it's so stupid, and it's fantastic. One of the orderlies that revives PCO has a bottle of wine, and like the red hair flopping out of his whatever. Oh my god, they do the music and they do the candle lighting, and PCO's wrist tape is tighter than, never mind, don't finish the joke. The PCO insinuates that outside of wrestling, he if you have children, cover their ears. 3, 2, 1. He insinuates that he likes to fuck. And then Steph DeLander thinks that he said he likes the Notebook. This broke me, man. It's so good. And Hannifin's doing these little quips in the middle. He's drinking, and then PCO drinks out of a carafe full of sludge. And Stephanie tries some and she gags a little. And they open up the top and it's can of worms. This is very Addams Family. Someone had said this in the chat a while ago. And like, it's true. It's very Addams Family. And they got it's like, it's supposed to look like a bunch of worms, but they're not. It's just spaghetti with squid ink. It's great. It looks beautiful. It looks good, actually. Calls it the Stephanie special. Then they tease the kiss, and then First Class comes out. And this all ends up with a fight. Super kick to PCO by Rich Swann. Steph gets pie faced by AJ Francis. Swann zip ties PCO to the ring ropes. And then Francis chokeslams Steph DeLander while PCO yells, Stephanie! I can't wait for the wedding.
This was so fucking stupid that it went to the point where it was good. Okay? Not this jazz. Not these candles. Not the how romantic chants. Not the guttural screams. Not the Jonathan Gresham juice. Those are literally my notes. Like this was all of those things where it's like, if I was a high school student and I wanted to do Girl Falls in Love with Zombie, I've hit every beat here. And when First Class came out, all I could think of was not First Class. Why are you out here? Super kicking PCO in the name of love? That's crazy, Rich Swann. I'm telling Sue Young, and she's going to drag you to hell. Where you just stop hanging out with this guy. This guy's a bad influence on you, Mr. Swann, Rich Homie Swann. Also, not AJ Francis being Randy Orton, put women through tables.
Honest to God, of all the people who do it, I love that it's AJ Francis. He's good, man. Again, and I know people have come around on him finally. He's so good. He knows he's doing it. He clearly loves these moments. Good for him.
Still not gonna cheer from the Bulls.
Oh yeah, no, he fucking sucks. Sorry, I'm dropping more F-bombs than normal. My bad. He sucks, but it's just great. It's a fun segment. There's going to be more. They could do a mixed tag where Steph and PCO team up against First Class. Do it on a taping, and then after they beat First Class, PCO proposes. And that gets us to Slammiversary.
I gotta tell you, there's two people tonight been memeing their names, First Class and Ash by Elegance. They've been called First Ass tonight and Ass by Elegance, or Trash by Elegance. And what happened tonight was First Ass, First Trash. Okay, we had to put stuff to lay through the table. And also PCO. I mean, if you undead, you should be able to break them shits. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kicking and screaming until the altar. And when the altar happens, I'm like, oh, this is dumb as hell. I live.
Dex Baker sent us a super chat saying, I found myself randomly saying, if you're not First Class, you're last. Randomly. I hate that I love these guys. Dex Baker, you don't chew Big Red, you can finish the rest of that.
I feel like that's a Talladega Nights reference, but I'm so old that all I can think of is if you're not first, you're not last. Rick and Bobby.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'm saying there's more to that. When you said the Big Red, and my brain just said,
oh yeah, no, I can't finish the line because I dropped enough F-bombs tonight.
Well, there we are.
Before we carry on to your favorite segment of the night, Ash by Elegance, Will Chisholm sent a super chat saying, if WWE is letting AJ Styles work pro wrestling Noah, I do think TNA will have a nice chance to get AJ Styles at some point. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't. I think if anything, TNA is going to get AJ Styles to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame, but I don't expect him to be in a match. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words and I'll say you're right, but I'm not counting anything into this right now.
TNA has been throwing their ass in a seance. Hey, you just meowed at me and now you're going to run away. TNA has been throwing their ass in a seance circle, trying to get AJ Styles to come back. I would love that. Even if for one time, they paid for the cameo. So I think even if just for one time, I don't know the circumstances on why AJ Styles left. I don't know if he was poached or they weren't paying him, so it could be AJ Styles is saying, you could bring Jesus Christ of Nazareth down here himself, and I'd rather still wrestle I'd rather wrestle NXT developmental FCW before I go wrestle TNA. I don't know what the circumstances are. So
a big old pile of money.
I mean, I have heard that TNA back in the day used to pay people in hot dogs.
Get your cameos ready. Ash by Elegance defeats Heather Reckless. Lots of offense for Heather Reckless in this match. This was a good match. Reckless looking good. This all ends when the concierge, George Eisman, of course, holds down Ash by Elegance as she's trying to do, as Reckless is trying to do springing top rope Spanish fly, and then Ash hits rarefied air, gets the win, and then the concierge calls her Ash the Juggernaut, and Ash is doing the most obnoxious posing of her life. Again, stupid and funny, and I love it. But what I don't love is, unfortunately, there's a Knockouts Women's Champion or Knockouts Champion, and she's probably going to want to have a title match against Ash by Elegance, and it could be at Slammiversary. It's not official, but Jordynne Grace does come out. She tries to go for, she makes the save. She's trying to go for the Grace driver. Iceman stops her. Ash rakes the eyes, hits Grace with the Knockouts title. So that kind of, and then backstage, Grace says she's going to go to Santino and say, I want to handle this once and for all. I know you love her. Let's talk about Ash by Elegance. You loved her at one point, by the way.
I was trying to get into it. Every time I try to get into it, I try. My mother told me if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. So I will say I liked Heather Reckless's gear, and her tattoos were nice despite what the personal concierge said. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me, Jesus. And I'm willing to say that it's me. Maybe I don't understand pro wrestling. I don't understand pro wrestling, but to quote my great-grandmother before she passed, Miss Leona McFarlane, me don't care.
I get it. This is one of those things where a couple of weeks ago, you and I sat here and we praised Ash by Elegance and the character was going the right way. There was a slow burn. This is
a step backwards.
This was a step backwards. Someone in the chat saying they need to give her a more serious presentation and stop the constant squash matches. And I agree with that, by the way. They were starting to get there and then they kind of pulled it away. And now this is the problem. She's become a comedy act again, and a comedy act going for the Knockouts title against Jordynne Grace feels not the way I would book it personally. Whoever's going to get
there's nothing wrong with being a comedy act. It's just kind of also not a good comedy act because your comedy is coming from George Eisman. My praise before was you were showing all this aggression. Just do that in the match and not after, and we're still getting that. And I'm happy that she's a hard worker and she got to where she got, much like The Miz. And I think that these people need to be praised for their perseverance. However, me don't care. Yeah, then ask me 3 times, and me tell you, me don't care. Me don't care. Me don't care.
I'm hoping that they just run the match at the TV tapings next week and just let that be it. Or they have something where Ash actually proves herself and gets herself a title match and gets rid of Iceman. But
Iceman's the best part of her act. No shade. She can't do that right now. She can start blaming him, but that means she's gonna have to start wrestling seriously. And I don't know where that intersection lies at. Right now, Iceman is the best part of her act. No shade, and that's the problem. That is truly the problem. I
do agree, chap. I can't wait for Jade Chung to knock out George Iceman. She's gonna knock out George, and then she's gonna knock out Frankie, and everyone's gonna be like, "Shit, Jade's gonna be world champion soon enough,
bro." And then she's gonna knock out Ash. I'll be like, "Let's go, Jade." Where's the Jade Chung push?
What's funny is that Jade has always been this like superhero figure in TNA. The Bully Ray Josh Alexander stuff. She was known as Jennifer, like she was known as Josh's wife, but she was still like she was still pretty strong. And then when Josh won the world championship at Bound for Glory a few years back, and then Moose cashed in, and then they turned it into the Moose versus Josh Alexander stuff. Again, Jade was there and she stood up to Moose. So like there is something there that Jade Chung is just that last bastion of badass in professional wrestling.
She always looks good. And I don't know, I don't know if she was an in-ring competitor, but again, something about her just like, yo, I think she really could beat you up, Moose. I think she could beat you up. I don't know what it is. Maybe because she married to Josh Alexander, but I think she could beat you up.
She's badass. That's for sure. JDC is back. That's Justin Bradshaw Grayfield. No, it's Johnny Dango Curtis. Dirty Dango defeats Ryan Nemeth. Is mostly just Dango in control. There's a little bit of Nemeth here and there. He wins with the dirty leg drop, does Dirty Dango. And the new theme, by the way, is really good. I love it. Post-match, Edwards and Myers come down. They celebrate. They beat down Ryan Nemeth some more. Nick Nemeth comes out, makes the save. He's got that loaded foot because he's going to do a super kick. Anything to say about JDC versus the Nem?
I'm gonna be real with you. You can't be mad, Dango. You literally came out here for months to say, man, I hate pro wrestling. And then you're surprised you're not booked? That's like if I came up here every TNA show said, wow, I hate Fightful. Fightful sucks, but I'm here. You think Sean Ross Sapp gonna book me? Use your noodle. Use your noodle, sir.
Yeah, stay in the backstage like everyone else does.
Exactly. Wait till we go. Every time I go offline, I just tell you how I fucking hate you guys.
God, right? Jeremy and I, 10 minutes before ITW, every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Man, do I love to hate this show. And then boom, we hit the intro and the big music and yeah, I love it. Anyway, pulling back the curtain a little too far. Dango still has some time left on his deal with TNA, and here we are. He's back. I like Dango. I'm hoping
I do like Dango too.
Yeah, I just hope they do something fun with him.
I'm just saying, again, you can't be mad that you didn't get booked for a couple of months after saying, man, I hate pro wrestling. And what happened to your friends? Where's Alpha Bravo? Where's Oleg Prudius?
I miss Oleg Prudius. He was great.
He did like 4 things.
Yeah, and all of them were great. Who are you? Who are you to talk bad about Oleg Prudius? He was going to lead them to a tag title.
I haven't even invented a match. You're right.
He was gonna get them to a tag title. He was doing all the work, and Johnny would just come in and beat him up, and that'd be it. I miss Oleg Prudius so much. Main event. Josh Alexander defeats Eric Young, qualifies for Slammiversary. So now we know Moose, Josh Alexander. They're both in the match for Slammiversary. This is Josh's 3rd Slammiversary in a row in which he will be in the main event. He is 1 behind Sting. I didn't want to do it too loud.
Hit Sting!
Anyway, Sting did 4 of those, so Josh is now 1 behind Sting. After Slammiversary happens and he makes it. The promo package that they aired before the match was really good stuff. Both men talking about the importance not only of Slammiversary, but the TNA World Title and their paths to it throughout the years. Again, great match. They did the Slammiversary 2022 call spots, the missed moonsault. They did sharpshooters aplenty. The elbow that EY does is always good, always fun. And then, of course, at the end, Alexander kicks out of the pile driver. They do a top rope pile driver attempt, turns it into an ankle lock, does Josh Alexander. EY reverses it into a small package near fall. Eventually a snap German, a C4 spike, and Josh Alexander's going to Slammiversary. I don't have too much more to add on this match other than good stuff. Go out of your way to watch it. Josh Alexander's going to Slammiversary. Your hot take, Cresta.
My hot take is I don't know why we thought Eric Young was going to win. No disrespect to Eric Young. And I like that Eric Young is putting over the younger talent and whatnot. And Josh Alexander at this point is such a staple. I would be surprised if he wasn't on the card in Slammiversary in some sort of capacity. You know what I mean? So I think this was the right call. I too don't have that many notes. The submission I thought was really nice between Eric Young and Josh Alexander. And I swear to God, I never see Josh Alexander do a moonsault. I was a little spooked. Like, moonsault.
You've never seen that?
I feel like I have, but in my brain was just like, Mr. Alexander, you don't go up there. What are you doing?
It's very pretty. It's very pretty. Yeah.
No, it was good.
Yeah, it was good. Josh just tweeted out it was his pinfall going to Slammiversary, and he tweets, "If y'all can get this to 67 million views like Joe Hendry's video, I appreciate it. FYI, I can't sing or play an instrument. I also don't have a healthy head of hair or a smile filled with unchipped teeth. I'm wicked awesome at fighting and suplexing. I also have blue eyes."
Josh Alexander, I think it's time you just put the headphones on us to do this. What is love? I'm gonna ankle lock you. You and Kurt Angle should do a song together about ankle locks, and that'll get you your views. Free advice, Mr. Alexander. You're welcome. You with your headphones on, Kurt with his little headphones on, just yell duh, 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 duh. I'm ankle lock you. Some more. There you go. It's free. You're welcome. Josh Alexander, you do deserve all the views. I mean, and also don't say you can't play an instrument. Anyone can play an instrument. You just got a loin. You got a loin.
That's TNA Impact for June 20th. Listen, this was a very wrestling heavy episode of TNA. That is something that we don't see very often, but when it comes around, it's easy to talk about. We're setting up for Slammiversary. We know at least what the main event is looking like right now with that 6-man elimination match. And then we're going to have the Knockouts title eventually settled. Knockouts tag titles, it looks like, it could be the militia, Masha as we call them here, taking on Spitfire. But who knows? We got a lot of time before that goes on. But until then, Cresta Star, pick up the kitty and tell us what you got going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me here on Fightful on Thursdays and Saturdays. Thursdays, I go over all things TNA with Mr. Joseph Pearl, and I go over all things Collision with Iridian and Rick. If not, you can find me derping around on the internet, TikTok, Instagram, everything else besides Twitter is Cresta Star. I don't have a Facebook. Twitter is Cresta the Star. And this is Bully Ray the Cat, aka Rengar, aka Fat Cat, aka she's rude. And she wants you guys to have a good evening. Happy Father's Day if you're a father. And she's a piece of crap. Oh, I'm sorry for Cat Butthole. My apologies.
That's fine. That won't be the thing that gets us demonetized here. Let's face it. I said them enough. Anyway, you can catch me Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on a little show called In the Weeds. That's our morning show. We talk about all the wrestling. That's 10 a.m. Eastern until about noon, unless we do an overrun, which we typically do. Let's face it. One called Manders is going to be on the show tomorrow morning, so go check that out. We're looking forward to talking to him. And we have guests all the time, including guests from TNA. You can go back in our archives and find a whole plethora of guests. And of course, Cresta and I are back here on Thursdays. Subscribe to Fightful Select if you haven't already. Best $5 in the business. Support the writers, support the scoopsters, support the content creators out there. That's what we do here on Fightful. I am Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We'll see you in the next one.